Hi there, I'm Scott Lowe with ActualTech Media, and thank you for joining us for this Roadcast video. I'm joined today by Peter Finter, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at Couchbase. Peter, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. Pleasure to be here.
So the last time we talked to you was in your offices in the Bay Area about a year ago.
Right.
And give us the overview, though, of what Couchbase is, if people have forgotten since they saw that video.
Of course, yeah. Well, we're in a very fast-moving environment, aren't we? And here we are at AWS, a lot's going on. So Couchbase is a enterprise-class multi-cloud to edge NoSQL database. So most people wouldn't be familiar with the term NoSQL, and referencing the fact that it's a non-relational database. It's designed for modern application development where agility, performance, scale, these are the important things. And we focused on supporting the needs of the most demanding applications, what we call business critical applications for enterprises that need to operate at large scale. That could be gaming companies, it could be hotel chains, it can be cruise liners, it can be financial services institutions. So we spread across the enterprise space, about 500 large enterprise customers today using Couchbase across all industries. And our focus is really around how we help developers use this new technology to build their cloud native applications in this new way.
Yeah, and I mean, as we talked about before we started shooting the video, I have a high level familiar with relational databases, but obviously understand that volume, velocity, and variety of data is becoming a big challenge.
For sure.
So I would like to understand in that context, what's bringing you to reinvent this year?
Well, from our perspective, the cloud is where it's at, right? The biggest enterprise IT strategy that's being executed today is the move to the cloud. Why? Because organizations need that level of agility. They need to be able to move faster, be more responsive to their customers. And so AWS is a key partner for us. About 40% of our workloads run in the public cloud today. So we have folks who are implementing us in their own database, in their own data centers, in their own environments. But increasingly, people want to operate in the public cloud. And our ability to operate on a multi-cloud basis is really important to a lot of enterprises. They don't want to be locked down to a single provider. They need perhaps geographic diversity. They need to be able to move with the times. As they acquire new companies, they want to be able to operate across the piece. So the way we think about it is your data needs to be available to you wherever your application resides, right the way out to the edge. So uniquely, we provide a mobile capability we could chat more about. But that is changing the game. And for us, AWS is a key environment for us to meet with people who are aligned with this need to modernize the application development and deal with the issue of transition from their legacy environments. And transformation is really the name of the game here at AWS, right?
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at all cloud providers, it's been incredibly transformational over the last couple of years to see how far they've come along. In their evolution. But you're basically using the cloud as almost a commodity storage layer in some ways.
That's an interesting way to put it, but I agree with you. It's the infrastructure flexibility that is the real power here. We want to be able to leverage the most cost-effective way to store data, move data, and manage data. And the cloud provides that ability to be able to do it wherever and however makes most sense. I think what we are seeing is that enterprises want to be able to ensure that they can operate in the hybrid environment.
Right.
So that's one reason why the sort of abstraction layer that we represent allows them to effectively change the underpinnings, the underlying deployment infrastructure can change without having to rewrite the apps accordingly. And so you get that kind of insulator effect, which allows them to go ahead and focus on what they care about, which is developing great new apps, without worrying about the underlying infrastructure. And we've built all the necessary components of that to make that possible for enterprises. So
since we talked last year, what has Couchbase been up to?
Oh, we've been up to a ton of stuff. But I think some of the more exciting things that we've been doing, we upgraded and launched our 2.5 release of our mobile platform. One of the exciting things about that is we're the only embedded database at the edge for NoSQL today. So we can run at the edge and synchronize data from your mobile device or your IoT sensor all the way back into the core. What we did in the most recent release, we introduced something really pretty exciting, which we call predictive queries for ML. So imagine the scenario. You want to, maybe you're going to go to your local home improvement store and you need to get a part for something that's broken in your home or maybe for your vehicle. You could go in now with this technology and literally the store assistant can take a picture of the item that you're looking for and then make recommendations on what might be appropriate to replace that part, where it may be found in the store, the level of all those good things that are necessary. So that kind of intelligence at the edge, super super interesting. And one of the keys to that is really the ability to keep that data synchronized across the entire data infrastructure. You still need the same level of resilience, you still need the same level of availability, but now you're talking about mobile devices where connectivity is not assured. That's turning out to be a really interesting use case. And a second thing that we've been focused on is Kubernetes. So we were the very first NoSQL database to implement a Kubernetes operator, bringing together stateful and stateless. A very challenging thing to do from a technical point of view, but now being taken for granted, right? This is like a big deal. And here at the show, actually, a lot of news around that from AWS themselves. We actually are fully certified across AWS, Azure, and GCP, as well as Red Hat's OpenShift platform. So we've been in this thing for a while. We put a big bet around Kubernetes, and it's really paying off for us. We have a very mature platform as a result, and that's transforming the way that architects and DBAs are thinking about implementations. And then most recently, we just announced our 6.5 release on our core server platform. Probably the biggest news there, and particularly in the context of moving from relational to non-relational, was compatibility with multi-document ACID transactions. So this has been one of the sort of the bugbears coming from a relational background. There are certain things that are just like a given. Okay. Right. I expect to see these things in my environment, and if you can't deliver that, then frankly, I can't move my app, I can't write my app in that environment. We've always done single document ACID, but now we've introduced that on a multi-document basis. And the reason that's so challenging is because it's a distributed database infrastructure. Unlike the old days where you could control every sequence of every activity, we're now having to synchronize on a multi-node, multi-cluster basis and ensure that you get the same atomicity and all the rest of the attributes that you need. That's a big deal that we've introduced. And doing that with the same performance, the same availability, and the same scalability, I think that's what differentiates our offer from others that have also taken some steps in that direction.
Very good. And so you've addressed challenges around consistency and all that good stuff as part of this.
Exactly, which is really opening up the field to a new class of applications. And I think one of the things that we've seen in the NoSQL world as a whole is that people were initially thinking about it as kind of an edge use case. Okay, if I really need this, then this will be suitable for me. But I wouldn't dream of running my business on this platform. And I think what we've seen over the last couple of years is that businesses like American Express, for example, have made a determination that they're going to strategically focus on NoSQL as a core part of their strategy. They actually use Postgres for their relational database requirements, and they're using Couchbase for NoSQL. And that is now supporting more than 60 different use cases for them. It's becoming a standard part of the infrastructure, and they're now even looking at things like moving to systems of record based on NoSQL. That was that was the last bastion, wasn't it, of relational databases?
Yeah.
Right. If you need that ultimate durability, ultimate persistence, can you really trust, a NoSQL database? Well, the evidence seems now to be coming to a conclusion that says it's actually ready for prime time. You can do it, and you can now operate in that much more flexible way across all of your application environments.
So we're coming to the end of a decade and starting a new one.
Yeah, I'm feeling older already, Scott.
I know. And what is it? What's the date? We got, 27 more days of the decade.
Okay.
So
yes.
As we go towards 2020,
yeah.
What's one trend or prediction you think is going to define the next decade?
Great question. The thing that I think is going to be really interesting for us is the move to the edge. We're sitting here at AWS reinvent. It's all about the cloud. And I think, even Andy Jassy yesterday was acknowledging getting the cloud to the edge is actually a key move that they feel they need to make, because that's where the action is. Let's face it, Scott, you and I are walking around with mobile devices. That's where the data needs to reside. That's where the applications are. That's where the intelligence is. And we talk about AI and ML. They're going to be huge. But the underlying data infrastructure is what's going to define the success of those things. And so how do we bring all of that to the edge? And I think that's the next bastion. It's kind of a challenge. If you've centralized everything in the cloud, now we're talking about a decentralized distributed environment. That's a whole new game. I think that's going to be a big win for the next decade from a data perspective.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And I think it goes back to, as I think about the history of computing, we see the contraction.
It's like a pendulum swing, isn't it?
It always is. But it's almost different now, because it's not a swing. It's okay, we're adding more.
You're right. It's not either or. It's a both and.
And we're not getting rid of on-premises data centers. I mean, I think that's been proven by things like Outpost and Azure Stack and things like that.
Yep.
I think we've proven that we're not getting rid of those, and that's good. We can't. The cloud is here to stay, but we have this new environment. It's not really new, we're calling it something different, but we're seeing new use cases emerging,
Yes.
so we needed new terminology.
Yes, I
And
agree with
the edge
that.
is going to explode in the next decade. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. And I think one of the key drivers is AI ML, like you were talking about as well.
Yeah, I mean, we are living in pretty exciting times, aren't we? And,
We are.
You know, what's fascinating to me, sitting here, you know, representing Couchbase, is the database has been the last big outpost, if I can use that expression, in IT, hasn't it? It's been like static for decades, and now it's going through this massive transformation. It's going to unlock things that we can't even imagine right now, Scott. We're going to be sitting here a year, 2 years from now, going, how do we not see this coming? The reality is, it's going to be huge. I think the next decade's going to be a monster. It's going to be great.
I
I'm looking
completely
forward
agree.
to it.
Always exciting.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much for coming by. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
And thank you to our audience for watching this video.